Welcome, Your Worship.
Yeah.
Oh.
Mr. Chair.
We are now going to actually take the confidential item. I will move that we move that item. It's not going to be in confidence.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Mr. Quacks.
Before we take this item in confidential, I just would like an explanation.
Councillor Quacks, we actually Mr. Ramsey is going to talk to us about the confidential part of the item. We're not going to be doing that. It's going to be an open session.
Great.
It is going to be open. Very good. I'm glad I raised it.
So I'm actually moving that we go to that item now.
Yep. Precedence of business moved. I'm happy to second.
Thank you, Madam. Councillor Fletcher.
Good on you, Madam.
Madam Chair, I was about to say.
I like to be a madam.
So used to
Madam
it.
Fletcher.
All those in favour?
Stop it.
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary's carried. Mr. Ramsey, give us the explanation, please, about why we're not going into confidence.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Look, yeah, the fundamental basis was that this item actually included some property acquisition discussions, and so that was the basis. It was commercial sensitivity, which is why it's put into confidential, public excluded. Understanding there's, we have been approached, there's a question being raised, could this be considered under open? I believe we have a robust open discussion around this. So on the basis that if we may have to avoid going into any specific discussions around those individual property purchases, the item, the way it is currently worded, talks about the packages of land and talks about some dollar amounts there. But as long as you can bear our forbearance there, stay away from any specific discussions on individual pieces of land because they are commercially sensitive. Keep it to the level it's intended in this report at the moment. Then, yeah, on that basis, happy to go to open discussion on that.
Can we leave the door open then because it's not confidential? I don't think Mr. Kimpton knew that.
Certainly leave the door open. There was just a lot of noise coming through.
Oh, okay, all right. We just don't want people thinking it's confidential when it's not. Tell them to shut up.
I'll ask the people to shut.
Maybe if you had a different
Councillor Casey?
It was just to ask if members of the public have a copy of the report because they wouldn't if it was confidential. So can some be given out?
Good point, Councillor. Thank you very much. Right, we'll go in to this item, please, about the CRL and bringing forward the capital expenditure. Hear what you have to say, sir. Thank you.
So I'm John Williamson from the CRL project team, for those who don't know me. So essentially this is a procedural item. We're here today because the CRL is now making faster progress than we'd anticipated at the beginning of the financial year, and that's indicative of the efforts of the CRL project team to deliver this project for you, for Auckland, as quickly as we possibly can. As a part of the delivery of the project, we have to secure the land, and we've been able to negotiate a number of settlements with property owners earlier than we anticipated, and so we're asking to bring forward funding to enable $6 million worth of private property and around $7 million worth of Kiwi Rail property in this financial year rather than in next financial year. All of the money that we're bringing forward is money that's within the CRL's existing budget, and there's no change to the CRL's $2.5 billion total budget. It's just a matter of we're making faster progress and spending the money more quickly. We're also looking to spend some money on design, consenting and investigation, and that's because of the progress we've been making around the early contractor involvements with the enabling works. We're at the process now of negotiating with two preferred contractors for the design of the enabling works, and we're looking to finalise those arrangements by the end of this month. That means we'll be starting the design of the enabling works in early April, and our intention is to have completed that design to the point where we'll be ready to begin the construction of the Albert Street part of the enabling works by the end of this year. What we're proposing to do with the contractors is to bring forward some of that design work now so we can integrate better thinking into the project and reduce the cost risk for the project as we're delivering it. So this is merely a procedural matter. We're making faster progress than we anticipated, and we're still within the project's budget.
Thank you very much, John. Mr. Ramsey, do you have anything to wish to add to that?
No, I think it's been covered.
Mr. Chairman?
Just a minute, please, Councillor Fletcher. What I intend to do is we'll take questions to the presenter, please, to John. If you've got questions, I do not wish to enter any debate at this stage. We'll take the questions and then we'll do the debate. Okay, everyone has agreed about that? Thank you very much. Councillor Fletcher.
Oh, thank you. And thank you, John, for the presentation. I note that it's a procedural matter that we need to bring this forward. Just want you to comment on the legal support and the importance of probity on this and the amount that has been spent on that to date. Would you like to comment?
Thank you, Councillor Fletcher. The legal support was required to finalise the arrangements with precinct properties. The deal took a little longer than we anticipated, but we needed to take time to make sure that it was a robust and rigorously negotiated deal. And the 600,000 that we're asking for was actually accounted for in our risk contingency. We have a risk contingency of 22% for the project. So that's the reason for asking for this particular money to be brought forward. The risk contingency sits a little further into the future in the financial planning for the project.
Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Fletcher. Councillor Darby.
No, I was just going to move it or second your move to it when you're ready.
Yep, thank you. Councillor Watson, question.
Yes, sorry, I just wanted to clarify that $600,000 of additional legal support. Is that additional to other legal support, or additional just 600,000 additional, or were we paying for other legal advice as well?
It was simply for the legal advice that we required to finalise the negotiations with the precinct property.
Councillor Casey.
Asked and answered, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Crum.
Can you just confirm for me how many properties would you need to restart the statutory process if you do not bring forward the property acquisition part?
I can't tell you exactly how many we will have to restart, but we've made very good progress with the property negotiations with the individuals concerned, and there's an opportunity to close the deal out, to give the private property owners certainty around their future, and also to give us more certainty about when we'll be able to enter the construction site at Mount Eden to enable the construction of the main works once we've got a funding agreement with the government. But I can't tell you the specific answer.
Would it be a high number, a majority, a minimal number?
I really couldn't tell you.
Thank you.
Councillor Brewer.
I just wanted to, you've noted here, John, the precinct properties extended negotiating process, which has added a 0.6 million of additional legal support. What the precinct deal, what impact has it had at all on, if at all, on our anticipated budget in this for CRL in this financial year and successive financial years? Has there been something, what is the outcome compared to what we anticipated would be the impact?
I couldn't tell you the exact number until we're finished.
Yeah.
But we believe that this is a more efficient way of delivering the CRL, and there will be a benefit to the project. But at this stage, it would be premature to take any savings that we might anticipate from precinct and take them out of the project.
Okay, so any movements in budget, given the precinct deal, will be positive, not negative, of what you anticipated when you set the budgets?
Yes, this was a more efficient way of delivering the CRL.
Okay. I suppose what I'd like to see with the CRL budget, Mr. Chair and John, is going through is kind of a bit more of a clearer track of, I had to go to the RLTP page 44 to see, what this budget 15-16 was actually, set at. And so I presume it's set here in the RLTP CapEx at 145, and I presume if we're taking off, if we're bringing forward that 17.7 million into what this current financial year, that the subsequent 15-16 financial year will no longer read 145 but will read 127. It'd be actually good just to have, because I know we've spent around 200 million already in previous financial year, how we're actually tracking over the lifetime of the project. So when we're shuffling, which as you say is, is a procedural matter and has no budgetary impacts, but we can actually kind of track it over the lifetime of the project rather than just kind of against nothing.
Okay, no, I understand that.
Thank you, Councillor Brewer. What Councillor Brewer is asking for is a project management profile, dollars spent, dollars to spend, which would go with any project. I'm sure we'll be getting that anyway, John, so thank you for your answer there. Councillor Quacks.
Yeah, thank you, John. In terms of the 600K legal fees, the additional legal fees, that is just for the work that's being done with precinct properties. That isn't in any way to do with the reasonable legal fees that the owners of properties being acquired for this project are being used for.
No, it's simply precinct properties.
Any further questions? Yeah, Councillor Wood.
Yeah, just in relation to, following on from Councillor Brewer, So we'll be up for about 507 million, will we, if what Councillor Brewer's talking about is the amount of expenditure on the table at the moment? Is that roughly what it is?
Sorry,
Well,
Councillor Wood.
this project.
The total CRL?
Yeah, no, I'm talking about you're talking about 220 million in property purchases, and then the enabling works is 287,
Right.
which to my calculation is about 507 million. Is that correct?
So yeah, we won't finish the enabling works until 2018-2019.
Yeah.
We have 400 million, or 387 million, I think, budgeted for 2015 to 2018. And I think we've spent roughly around 200 million by the end of this financial year.
So my question is really, I just want to know where we are with the government, because I expected the government would be putting 50% into this project, but here we are, 507 million, and we ain't got one cracker out of the government at this stage. So how long will the enabling work go on for, and when will the government come on board? Have they said they're going to help us out to recompense us for this work at this stage?
So that will be something that we'll have to negotiate with the government when we sit down to formally negotiate the funding arrangements.
Well, I envisaged, and the Mayor said that he wasn't going to start the project until he got this assurance from the government that they would give us recompense for the 250 million that the Mayor was talking about 12 months ago. Have we just written that idea off now?
From my recollections at the consideration of the draft LTP, I think it was made quite clear that we were going to progress with the enabling works on the understanding that we would negotiate with the government, and there would be no commencing of the main works until the funding agreement was in place with the government. And the negotiations with the funding agreement with the government would include consideration of retrospective contributions towards the enabling works.
But we weren't going to start anything, were we, until we got some assurance from the government in relation to the 250 million.
Order, please.
No, order. I'm asking a question.
Yeah.
We weren't going to, we were waiting for
Councillor
some
Wood.
That's right.
recompense.
Councillor Wood.
I want to get my,
Your question was, are the enabling works part of the stage 1 or stage 2 of the project? I believe that's the long-term plan has got that sort of criteria put to it. John, would you like to comment on that, please?
well, I got another question.
Only to say that the enabling works are included in the long-term plan, and the assumption at this stage is that the council will fully fund those works until there is an agreement with the government that enables the government to contribute to those works.
So we've had this debate, but Councillor Wood, you had a further question?
Yeah, I'm just going back to the 250 million. When the Mayor wrote to the government about a year ago, asking the Prime Minister if he would come on board and the council would fund this 250 million on the pretext, under the assumption that the government would then put their contribution in to that 250 million. Did the government actually, have the government actually given us an indication as to where they stand on that request?
Yes, they have.
I think it's pretty clear.
They did, it was in the letter.
What is it, have they said, or?
I do not believe there has been an answer to that, Councillor Woods. at
They
this
are paying
point in time.
42%.
Order,
So
please.
we're going ahead without any
Mr Chairman,
indication?
we're
Chairman,
getting
this is a
into
debate part, Councillor Wood, please. Councillor Cooper, your question?
No, hang on.
Yeah,
Mr.
my question,
I've made a ruling
my
here.
question
Oh,
is-
that's unfair.
is-
Oh, it's a pretty legitimate question
my-
I was putting
My
to you.
question
order, please,
is,
councillor.
my question, because I'm quite confused now, I completely understand this, but I want to understand, because my reluctance is that we don't have any assurances as yet. And my understanding is that the government had said it would look at paying 50% when this is discussed in 2017. And there's a business plan put forward, and I want to know, one is, when are we going, have we set a date to have those discussions? And the other one is it our expectation that the government will pay 50% of the whole project, or just the second stage?
It's a legitimate question.
Answer that.
Mr Chief Executive.
So, through you, Mr Chair, you are having a discussion that you have already had, and we have resolutions of the council that clearly program the CRL into two distinct parts. One is route protection and enabling works, and the second part is the CRL proper. which we might think of as the tunnel boring machine sections and stations. That's there in your draft LTP, and you've got that, you've had that out for public engagement, and you'll be confirming that or not as part of your May decisions. We're not making that decision today, we're simply asking you to move cash flow. What we know about the government's commitment is that we have a cabinet resolution saying the City Rail Link route is the right route and that the project is right for Auckland, and we have a 2-year difference in the opening date as of today. And the government have said in response to the Mayor's letter earlier this year, we don't want to negotiate the funding agreement until 2017, which is the date that was agreed to do the business case together. And so nothing has changed, and nothing about this paper today changes any of that. The Mayor has written to the Minister of Transport and others and suggested that the time is right to have a transport accord, and there has been a favourable response to that, and that matter is being followed up by the Mayor and the Mayor's office, and some of the elected members here may be part of that conversation when it gets underway. So that's where we are. The government have never said explicitly whether they're thinking 50% or more, but they have always been quite clear that in their indications that it's 50% of the whole, including what we will have spent up to and including 2018. And they'll obviously, we've always recommended to you not to specify an expectation because this is a negotiation process and the other party has much deeper pockets than you.
The question, it's just a question, Councillor Wood.
Yeah, well, I asked the Chief Executive, why did our officers put out a paper with the long-term plan showing 960 million contribution from the government and 1.45 contribution from Auckland Council?